Problem 3, this is exercise 1114 in your text. This is probably the trickiest problem of the group because it asks you to go backward and forwards, and you really have to know all of the pieces. So let's just take a quick minute to review. When we're doing a traditional income statement, we have revenue minus cost of goods sold equals gross margin minus selling and general administrative, net income before taxes. And that's what it's asking you to remember, because it's asking you to focus on this piece right here. Because if revenue minus cost of goods sold equals gross margin, revenue minus gross margin will equal cost of goods sold. Okay? Because remember, revenue minus cost of goods sold is gross margin. Therefore, revenue minus gross margin has to equal cost of goods sold. So, they tell us that this company produced 300,000 watches, and I'll outline the facts in blue. They sold 300,000 watches that it manufactured for $35 each. The company determined that the fixed cost per unit was $14 per watch. The company reported a $2,700,000 gross margin. So, what's the variable cost per unit? Now, before you throw your hands up in the air and say, "Oh, there's no way I can figure that out," you can figure it out. Just got to do it piece by piece, little by little. Great Chinese proverb says the longest journey starts with a single step. We have the cost of goods sold. Or we can figure that out. We have the gross margin. We have the revenue. It's just not in the form that you like it. The revenue is 300,000 units times $35 per unit. So that's 10,500,000 in revenue. So we have revenue, we have cost of goods sold, or we have gross margin. We can now find cost of goods sold. So we have this piece, and we have this piece. So all we need to do is subtract them. So revenue minus the gross margin gives us cost of goods sold of $7,800,000. They tell us that we sold 300,000 watches. So it cost us $7,800,000 to create 300 watches. So we take the 7,800,000 divided by 300,000, not 300, excuse me. And we find out that the average cost per unit was $26 per unit. We made 300,000 units. They cost us $7,800,000. We sold them for $10,500,000. Gave us a gross margin of $2,700,000. If the fixed cost per unit was $14, because they tell us that, Fixed manufacturing cost per unit, $14. Subtract that from the cost of the product per unit, and we come up with $12. That's our variable cost. The next thing it asks us, so that once the variable cost per unit, $12, the total variable cost will be $12 times 300,000, or 3,600,000. And the total contribution margin, and remember, contribution margin is selling price, which we also call revenue, minus variable cost equals contribution margin. So, do we have all of those pieces? We do indeed. We have the selling price. We have the variable cost. So the total variable cost is $3,600,000. And the total contribution margin is the sales, $10,500,000, minus the variable cost, $3,600,000. So our contribution margin is $6,900,000. So this problem was not difficult in the math. It was difficult insofar as you had to interpret the accounting data, and you had to remember this formula, and that formula. And if you didn't remember them, jot them down. Make sure they're on your cheat sheet for your next exam and your next quiz.